And I want to thank all you diehards that have stayed this late and are going to be stuck in traffic trying to go home. I have a ton of thoughts, and I just want to try to put them together in some coherent fashion because, like the previous panel, I've been doing this work for 20-something years. I've been doing prison litigation for kids as a lawyer, but I am still at 51 propelled by outrage. I just am pissed off that the greatest country in the world, that the only way they can figure out to socially control teenagers is to put them in cages. Now, that is ridiculous. We can do rocket-propelled grenades, we can do bomb busters, and we got to shackle a 5-year-old because she throws a temper tantrum at school? But we don't do that to white people. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is when you look at when these systems became punitive, retributive, that you gave school to people in cages like they did at the Youth Authority, is when it became mostly black and brown. The inescapable fact is we are throwaway people. If you're poor and if you're a person of color, you are a throwaway person. And the only way that this is tolerated is society says this is okay. So that's on the black middle and Latino middle class. That's on the white middle and upper middle class. That's on the Asian. We have societally said, we are not outraged about this. This is okay. And I just don't understand that. Is because there is no question that if the majority of kids in the Youth Authority were being taught in cages, being treated the way that they are, and they were mostly white upper middle class kids from Brentwood, they would have torched this system. These are policies that feed these institutions. These are policies. This is an accident. I'll give you one specific example. Who in here has observed gentrification? Okay. Now, you remember when certain street used to have a connotation. Whoops, there went the Starbucks. Whoops, there went the joggers and the people with the dogs and the four-wheeled carriages with the babies. Whoops, there went the restaurant, the Fly. Whoops, now comes transportation. Now comes grocery stores. Oh my God, there's Whole Foods. And what used to be that neighborhood now means something totally different, right? It is totally changed. That was not an accident. Businesses had to invest. Money had to be invested. Policies meant that somebody could get houses cheaper. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Somebody said we're going to put stores in there. As Jeff mentioned, we're going to quit putting sour milk there. We're going to actually have Clover milk with whole whatever, organic on it. These are policies. And similarly, they are policies about how to socially control young people that are manifesting anti-quote social behaviors. And we don't need to talk more about the models. They are there. The question is the will of people in power and the will of the greater community to access them and invest in them. There is no question. The will, what we know is there. Judy Cox, I invite anyone to go to Santa Cruz. Well, you can say it's Santa Cruz. It's fruits, it's nuts, they're hippies, they got a small hall. The hall is old. The doors open inward, so they have to have a small number of people. The hall could be just as inhumane with 40 kids in it as in LA's with 700. But what does Judy do? The model is there. She doesn't just take money for herself. She goes with community partners, meaning community-based organizations, and we heard that they're starving for money. And she says, let's go in for this grant together. We may be more competitive if Barrios Unidos and the probation department go together. Not if the probation department gets all the money and treats you like some little pickaninny and says, come in and let us give you some of this. That's equity. That's fairness. And what happened in Santa Cruz? Some of the community-based organizations said, hey, our proposal may be stronger if we go in with probation. So then they can see we got the do-rag on, and then we got the professionals too. Bang, that's just like tight. It's tight. We can't beat that. We got them coming on us. But most of the counties, there are 58 of them in California, most counties look at what Judy and them have done in Santa Cruz, and what is the first thing you say? It's the same thing you say when your mother or father or a responsible adult congratulates your sibling. When you see what Freddie did, you see what Kurt did? James, why can't you be like your brother Kurt? And what's the first thing you do? I hate him, I hate you, I can't be like Kurt. Why you keep asking me to be like Kurt? That's what the other counties do. Santa Cruz can do it. Well, we can't do that in Fresno. We can't do that in, you fill in the blank, Riverside, San Bernardino, the Inland Empire. We can't do that. We got too much gangbanging. That's just not right. What that is you are choosing not to do that. So, the models are there, and what's happening is that because it's mostly kids of color who don't count, if you think, okay, thank you. These signs are deep. This dude got a red sign that says stop, okay? So I'm down to a minute, and I'm gonna go over it about 30 seconds, but if you think that this isn't true, what was that you saw with Katrina? There are a few times when this gets glaring in your face, what poor people face. Of course, if you're upper middle class, you don't think that somebody at the end of the month is down to $22, because you always got your ATM card. So this is an important thing, to understand that this is how we are being treated. So this is what I want to close with. We must take responsibility for holding people accountable for changing these policies and not accepting anything less. And it is communities of color that are going to have to step up on this. And I'm going to tell one story, and you can flash the red sign, but it's done. I was just at this meeting last week of civil rights leaders the meeting was called by Harry Belafonte because he was very upset to see the 5-year-old girl in Florida handcuffed and shackled when she threw the temper tantrum in the school, which I'm sure everybody saw on their little internet. All the black people sending us around go, woo, look at this. Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Here we go again. In case you don't know, there's a whole network of people of color that send things around that go on. And I'm sure white folks got their same thing too. But all my cousins and then we all had this thing. Y'all won't believe this, right? There's this whole underground network of people sending you stuff, folks of color, about look what they're doing now. Okay. So Harry Belafonte tells this story, which I think is profound, and I want to leave you with. He's with Paul Robeson, and Paul Robeson is sick and dying, and Paul Robeson's telling Harry Belafonte this story. And the story is, Eleanor Roosevelt calls black leadership to the White House at that time in the early 40s to meet with her husband, Franklin. Now, Franklin got a lot on his plate. He got World War II going. He's trying to smack down Hitler. And so they get this meeting in with the president. They take advantage of it. Now, in the room is a young A. Philip Randolph, who was the man that organized the March on Washington in 1963. Had a very deep voice kind of guy, you know, kind of like a Barry White before his time. So, in fact, in the meeting, Roosevelt's talking to all the black leaders. And A. Philip Randolph is young. He defers to his elders, doesn't say anything. President Roosevelt lights a cigar, takes a big toke, hands a cigar to A. Philip Randolph, lights him up. They take a big toke. They're smoking a cigar. End of the meeting. Says, young man, you haven't said anything. Is there anything you want me to know before you go? And A. Philip Randolph, in that deep voice, goes through a litany, one of those Tanya Lee kind of litanies of what's wrong. This is wrong. Segregation in the military, lynching, blah, 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 everything that's wrong. Just squat, you know, just hits him with it. Roosevelt takes a big toke on the cigar and says, young man, I agree with everything you've just said. And it's your job to go out and make me do it, to fix everything you said. It's your job to go out and make me fix it. The most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States, feels powerless without outside forces making him do it. And that's what I want to leave with those of you who are personally offended by the way that we are being treated as young people of color. It is our job to go out. There are so many vested interests that are built into this system of incarceration from the cradle to the prison pipeline. We have to deal with those vested interests, and we're going to have to make a change, because on their own, they are incapable of doing it because of where they find themselves. Thanks for your attention.